Hi, I'm Erica Clybrink, and today with Pruning Like a Pro, we are going to focus on roses, specifically hybrid teas, grandifloras, and floribundas. All of these will work great with shrub roses. They are self-cleaning, they've been bred so that you really don't need to do any pruning on those, so we're focusing on the ones you do today. For today's equipment, you'll want your pruners and gardening gloves. I highly recommend gardening gloves, otherwise you're going to have a very painful afternoon. Okay, so there's a lot of myths surrounding pruning and deadheading. So there's two different things you need to keep in mind. There's deadheading, which is removing old blossoms from the shrub. After all of the blossoms have finished blooming, then you would want to prune it back. If you do not prune it back, that means that it's going to basically go dormant and you won't be seeing repeat blossoms on it, despite the fact that you've deadheaded it beautifully. So for today, this specimen of a rose, we are going to be first deadheading it, since we do have still a couple of blossoms and buds that are going to be finished before we prune this back entirely. With deadheading, a lot of people think that you have to count the number of leaves and it has to be a certain shape before you can deadhead it. For me, what I have always found works the best is you just find a leaf that is pointing on a branch. You are finding one that points out from the center of the bush. So this is what we consider the center. If you look at the main canes, they are spread out in basically a vase shape, and anything that is pointing towards it, that will then encourage new sprouts that will come up. They will go in the direction of the leaf that you prune it to, right above the leaf you prune it to. So, for example, this particular branch, if I pruned it to this one, when I let it go, it is pointing towards me. So any new growth above it that will sprout will start to grow towards me. I am looking for one that is going to be going closer to you, the audience, that will give it a nice shape as it matures. So I'm going to go ahead, and this leaf right here is pointing in the direction I want the plant to be sprouting in, so I'm going to clip it right above it. Now, technically, you should be cutting the branch at a 45-degree angle. This allows for the capillaries and the stems to close, but if you make a mistake and it is, closer to a perpendicular, don't worry, the rose isn't going to shrivel up and die. It's mostly a matter of trying to keep it as healthy as possible. I also recommend, since a lot of roses, even if they are not susceptible to diseases particularly, it's best if you once a year you sterilize your pruners. That way, in between cleanings and pruning them, you aren't spreading disease from one rose to another. Even if you don't realize it might have a disease, it's just always a good practice if you do it. You sterilize it, you can clean it with hot water and soap. You can do like a rubbing alcohol. Basically, you just want to rinse it off and get a lot of those germs off of your pruners. So as to re-illustrate it, this branch, since this is on the opposite side of the plant, I don't want the leaf that is going in this direction because that would be going towards the center of my plant. I've got a nice leaf on the opposite side that's pointing out away from the bush. I tilt my pruners at a 45-degree angle, and right above the leaf I make a clip. I cut it back. And you don't have to worry if it is still got a couple of petals. I would just go ahead and take that off. There's no need to keep that on. It just means you have to come back out on another date to go and prune it. Also, while you're doing your deadheading, if you see any leaves that are turning brown or ugly, you can go ahead and remove those blemished leaves as well. That will encourage the plant to put all of its energy on the healthy leaves, and it won't waste energy trying to save the damaged ones. And that will also encourage, again, new blooms to appear. Now, let's say that this blossom was not here and that that we want to just prune the entire plant back. I will go in more detail later on this matter with another video, but essentially for those eager beavers, you would just cut it to about half the size of the original plant. So if this was all, my plant was having all longer canes like this, I would cut it back to about halfway off. It doesn't matter on this if there is leaves or not. It is going to resprout and regenerate, and on that new growth is where you're going to get your new flush of leaves. You want to do that probably about midsummer, around July, August, right around now is when a lot of your roses are going to be finished with their first cycle of blooms, and to get it to continue blooming throughout the summer, you want to prune it all the way back. And the reason why you do it right above the leaf nodes is because if you don't do it right close to the leaf, anything above the point where you cut, it's going to die back. The cane, that's what we call the branch, the cane will die back to that leaf, whether or not it's clipped. So it's just going to, it's not going to kill the plant. If you do it an inch above the leaf, it's just not going to look very pretty. So that is how you deadhead a rose like a pro. And we will later cover how to prune them in more depth.